Sports on 6.
Nebraska football is in year one with a new defensive coordinator, but he's already been on staff in a different role. Welcome into sports. I'm Mason Kern. John Butler moves from DB coach to DC. The Huskers continuing to establish their new and improved defensive identity.
There's no real magic in football. I'm not going to come up with a defense that nobody can block, because if there was one, every defensive coordinator in the country would run it. So it's really about just working that process, holding the players to the standard, and then building that unit. A great defense collectively as 11 all works together. They know where the strengths and weaknesses of each call are. They play to them, and then they work like hell every day to communicate and work together.